Hello everyone, welcome to Contentment Guide Astrology. I am Michelle. This video is going to be about the Venus and Mercury retrogrades. I've done another video on Venus retrograde that I will link below, but I wanted to do these two together because they're basically happening simultaneously and they're happening at exactly the same part of our charts, the start of Aries and the end of Pisces. So welcome to my channel. Please like, please share, please subscribe. All the interaction helps my business to grow, and I love hearing about your experiences with these astrology energies. So this is such a transformational year, and I'm sure you've heard a lot about it. I'm not one to really amp these things up in any way, but the energies are so strong and there is so much change happening because, number one, of all the outer planets changing signs. So in November we had Pluto finally moving into Aquarius for the next 20 years. And then from the end of March, we're going to have Neptune moving into Aries. We've got Saturn moving into Aries. Then we've got Jupiter moving into Cancer. And we've got Uranus moving into Gemini. This is a very unique time because this is basically a 7-month period where all of these outer planets are changing signs. So there are big energetic changes happening on the planet, but also for us individually, depending on where these planetary changes, in which houses they fall for you. So really a big time of change. And then we've also just come out of a Mars retrograde. Mars is now turned direct on 24 February. It is still going to move through the sign of Cancer now going forward until the middle of April. So we are still integrating these Mars energies. And then now in March and April, we're going to have the Venus and Mercury retrogrades happening at the same time as well. So we are really changing a lot. We are really gaining a lot of new perspectives from all of these different archetypal energies. So I just briefly wanted to speak again about the archetypal energies of these planets because it really helps us integrate what is changing in our lives and where we are gaining new perspectives and new directions. So first I want to speak about Mars because we've now gone through a long Mars retrograde in Cancer where we were dealing with how we direct our energy, how we take action, how we deal with conflict, how easy it is for us to know when to start something, when to take action on something. All of these Mars archetypes have been changed in us at this point, and we are still recalibrating until Mars reaches that 6 degrees of Leo, where it started its retrograde last year. And then since the 1st of March, we now have Venus retrograde as well. And Venus is known as the planet of love and relationships. Her archetype is about love, it's about relationships, it's about our inner values. It is also about money. It is about creativity and beauty, and how we express ourselves creatively, how we express our values in terms of our creativity and in our relationships. So then we're also having a Mercury retrograde. Mercury retrograde is shorter than Venus retrograde, but it's happening at the same time. And Mercury is known as the archetype of communication. So Mercury retrograde is all about re-evaluating how we communicate. It's about changing thought patterns, having new insights about beliefs and thoughts. It is about the mind and speech patterns. It's also about commerce. And Mercury is interesting because Mercury can relate equally to conscious and subconscious things. So with Mercury, not to the same depth as Pluto, but we're also dealing with some unconscious patterns and mind cycles and belief systems with Mercury as well. So those are the archetypes just in a nutshell of what we are still integrating with Mars, and we're now going into with Venus and Mercury. So the Venus and Mercury retrogrades are happening between 11 degrees of Aries and 24 degrees of Pisces. So see where this falls for you in your chart, in which houses this is happening, and take note of what you would have started to notice already with Venus retrograde starting on this last weekend. I'm going to go sign by sign at the end to give you an indication of where to look, where to place your focus, and see what is already starting to change for you and where you are gaining different perspectives. So Venus retrograde is going to happen between 11 degrees of Aries and 24 Pisces. Mercury retrograde is going to happen between 10 degrees of Aries and 26 Pisces. So as you can see, very similar degrees, and yeah, changes in those parts of the chart in terms of Venus and Mercury. And then a big part of what is happening that I explain in my Venus video that I would love for you to watch is that Venus and Mercury are both meeting up with Neptune and Saturn and a North Node a couple of times as well. So with a North Node, there's a real emphasis here of growth, and with meeting up with Neptune and Saturn at different stages of these two retrogrades, we are really integrating those things that are our ideals, our dreams with Neptune, and with Saturn, how to bring that into reality. And sometimes it can also feel quite stark because we might have this ideal of how something should be, and Saturn is saying, no, this is where the boundary is, this is how reality is going to manifest at this time. But on the positive side of Neptune, Saturn working together, it really is a beautiful archetype in the sense that it can help for us to bring our dreams into reality, to really ground those lofty ideas and ideals and dreams and bring them into physical reality and ground them in. So that is the positive side of that can be really amazing. So make sure that you don't go into a period of too much confusion with all these conjunctions and with Neptune. It's very important at the moment to stay grounded and to really try and raise your frequency as much as you can on a daily basis to make all of these retrogrades as smooth as they can possibly be for you. So With Venus and Mercury retrograde, they both also go through cazemis. And a cazimi is when the planet meets up exactly with the sun or conjunction to the sun. And this is when a new seed is planted. Cazimi means heart of the sun. It is at that point of the exact conjunction where the sun really lends its light and strengthens those energies of Mercury and Venus. And these cazimi points are happening for Venus. It's happening on the 22nd or 23rd of March, depending on where you are. And this is happening at 2 degrees of Aries. And for Mercury, it's happening on 26th of March at 4 degrees of Aries. So you can see there's also new cycles being started with Mercury and the Sun and Venus and the Sun, exactly between those areas of 2 and 4 degrees of Aries. And Aries, in a lot of traditions, is seen as the first sign of the zodiacal wheel. It is seen as a new point. It is seen as a start. It is seen as a new beginning in the sign of Aries anyway. So there are new cycles beginning between 2 and 4 degrees of Aries, wherever that falls for you in your chart. And then the last thing I wanted to mention that is quite apparent right now in terms of, first of all, the Mars retrograde, and also then Venus and Mercury retrogrades, is that we are dealing with an integration here of fire and water energies. Mars retrograde started in Leo, a fire sign. It retrograded back to Cancer, a water sign. And now with Venus and Mercury, they are starting their retrograde in Aries, a fire sign, and retrograding back to Pisces, a water sign. This really means that a part of this whole process is for us to deal with those fiery energies inside us and find new ways to maybe be less fiery, to know when to put a little bit of water on and deal with things that show up in life in a more flowing manner. So there's a real change here, because these planets are all moving from fire and then backwards into water and back into fire again. So the way I see this is, by the time Mars is back into Leo again, and also by the time Venus and Mercury are back in Aries, we're going to have a new way of working with these fiery energies. And there might be a real integration between our actions, our desires, and dealing with our emotions connected to these things in a more flowing manner. So I think these can be challenging times because there's a lot of change happening at once. And apart from the retrogrades, we're also in eclipse season at the moment. So we're going to have 2 eclipses, one on the 14th of March and one on the 29th of March, which I will do separate videos about. But eclipses are also times of very fast evolution. Eclipses can bring things or take things away, or really evolve things on a much faster speed than they did before. So in a way, it seems quite contradictory, because with the retrogrades, we are dealing with energies that are slower, more introspective, and then we're also going to be dealing with the eclipses that are asking for certain things to move along quite quickly. So I think that's all I wanted to say in that regard for today. Do watch the video on the Venus retrograde, and The one thing to also take note of is that Neptune is going to change signs in the middle of these retrogrades. So on the 30th of March, Neptune is going to change signs from Pisces to Aries. And for Neptune, this really is a big deal. Neptune stays in a sign for 14 or 15 years. And Neptune is quite watery and spiritual and expansive and dreamlike and difficult to grasp. So for Neptune, it was actually an easier journey through the sign of Pisces. And now when Neptune is going to move into Aries on the 30th of March, it's now going to have to deal with that fiery Martian energy. And so when Neptune then suddenly moves into Aries, it's in the house of Mars. And so Neptune is now suddenly contending with that warlike and very fiery energy of Mars in Aries. So it's going to be a very sudden change. And the interesting part is that it's only then towards the end of these retrograde cycles where Venus and Mercury are both going to meet up with Neptune again, and this time in Aries. So this is a very big change of energy. This is where Venus and Mercury are now starting a new seed point with the planet Neptune as well. So this can be very expansive with Neptune. Neptune is cosmic love. It's ideals. It's huge. It's something non-physical that you can't really grasp. So these are very new energies for us to tap into. Venus is going to conjunct with Neptune at 1 degree and 8 minutes of Aries on the 2nd of May. And Mercury is going to conjunct with Neptune at 0 degrees 38 minutes of Aries on the 17th of April. So take note, Mercury 17 April, Venus the 2nd of May, because then we in this new cycle with Neptune, and there is a new Venus-Neptune cycle and a new Mercury-Neptune cycle also starting on those days. So I would like to go into where the Venus and the Mercury retrogrades are falling for the rising signs. Okay, so first, for Aries rising, Aries, this Venus and Mercury reset is falling for you in your first house and your 12th house. It's starting in the first house, retrograding back to the 12th house. This is the integration of heart and mind between who you are in your body. First house is about how you dress, how you present yourself to the world. It's about your beauty routines. It's about your exercise routines. It's about your personality, how you present yourself in terms of physical and communication and all different things. And it is that conscious part of who you are. Venus and Mercury then retrograde back into the 12th house, and the 12th house is that unconscious part of who you are. The 12th house is a spiritual place. It's a liminal space. It's where we deal with unconscious things and other realms. and even faraway places. So for Aries, there is some kind of integration here between who you are consciously and your unconscious parts. And by the time this retrograde of Venus and Mercury is complete, you will have a new sense of integration between unconscious parts and conscious parts. And when they move back into Aries, there's going to be a new you. You're going to see yourself and your spirituality and your body and how you present yourself to the world in a totally new way. And then for Taurus rising, Venus and Mercury retrograde is starting for you in the 12th house and retrograding back to the 11th house. This is an integration of heart and mind. The 12th house is all about those unconscious parts of you. It is a spiritual place. It's a place where we deal with mental health. It is that place where we go to be alone to deal with our spirituality. Like, it's about meditation and prayer and connecting to guides and angels and all of those spiritual things that people tend to do. The 11th house that the retrograde is happening into is all about groups. It's about friends, it's about benefactors, it's about where people come to help us and assist us in our life. So for Taurus, there is an integration between your unconscious parts, maybe unconsciously what groups of friends you tend to draw into your life. And with this retrograde, you might become more conscious of what kinds of people you would like to have in your life and really connect to people that suit you much better at this time. And also at this time, new people and groups and benefactors could show up in your life that then assist you with your unconscious parts and your spiritual life when these planets then move forward again into the 12th house. So for Gemini rising, the Venus and Mercury retrograde starts for you in your 11th house, and then they retrograde back to the 10th house. So there is an integration here between 11th house, which is groups, friends, colleagues. It's that place where you go to book club or where you join different groups of people in different places. It's a place of benefactors, people that come to help us in our life and in our careers. The 11th house is also the second house from the 10th house, so it can be about the money that you make from your career. And there is then the retrograde back into the 10th house, and the 10th house is the career house. The 10th house is your public life, where you show up in public, those parts of yourself that you show to people in public places. If you are not somebody who's working, it can be where you go to class every day if you're a student. It can be where you volunteer. If you are retired, or the places that you visit on a daily basis to connect with people in your public life if you are not working. So for Gemini, there's an integration here between how you connect to groups, maybe how you make money from your career, and then bringing those things into the 10th house. You might see a change in the people that you connect to in your public life, the people that you connect to in your career, and having new insights and understanding of how your career helps you in connecting with the right people, and also vice versa, how you need the right people to be able to be successful in your public life. So for Cancer rising, the Mercury and Venus retrograde is starting in your 10th house, and retrograding back to your 9th house. So the 10th house is your career place, it's your public life, it's those part of you that you show to people during daylight hours where people see you out in public. And the 9th house is your spiritual life. It is your belief systems, it's about religion, it is about travel and foreign places, and also about long-term studies. It can be about teachers and teaching. So for Cancer, there might be a part of you that you are integrating between your career and your spiritual life, and how these parts are now going to connect in a new way. You might find a change in your spiritual beliefs, or new insights in your spiritual beliefs that can affect how you now behave and work in your daily work environment, or how you now bring yourself to your public life in various ways if you are not working. For some people, it might be about physical travel to foreign places. So for some Cancers, it might be about either changing jobs, or maybe your job description changing, and now you are starting to travel to foreign places, or connecting to foreign cultures more in your job environment. And for Leo risings, Venus and Mercury retrogrades are starting for you in your 9th house and retrograding back to the 8th house. The 9th house is that spiritual place. It's about religion and belief systems. It's about travel to foreign places. It's about connecting to teachers or becoming a teacher yourself. And the 8th house is that place of give and take. It is where we share resources with other people. The 8th house is a place of transformation. It is a place of intimacy. So for Leo risings, you might experience a big change with the 9th house in terms of your belief systems around intimacy, or your belief systems about how you share money and resources with other people. You might have a change in your spiritual outlooks, or your religious outlooks and your belief system, and therefore that now influences how you connect with people in shared ways and in intimacy, and how you share resources with other people. So for Virgo rising, this Venus and Mercury retrograde is starting for you in the 8th house and retrograding back to the 7th house. So for Virgo, the 8th house is that place of give and take. It's a place of intimacy. It's a place of shared resources. It is a place of transformation. And the 7th house is all about your personal relationships, one-on-one relationships, be that romantic, close friendships, one-on-one relationships with clients. The 7th house can also be about followers if you're dealing with online social media elements and things like that. So there's an integration here between how you share things with others, your sense of give and take. You might have realizations about where you are taking too much, or where you are giving too much and not receiving enough from others. And these new insights can have an influence and a change on how you are now relating in your personal relationships. You might also have realizations in your personal relationships, and therefore when the planets move back into the 8th house, you're now going to have a transformation and a different way of looking forward and working with relationships and intimacy aspects going forward. And then for Libra rising, the Venus and Mercury retrogrades are happening for you between the 7th house and the 6th house. 7th house is your personal relationships. It's all those one-on-one relationships, romantic, close relationships, clients. And the sixth house is all about your daily schedule. It's about work. It's about how much energy you put into your work and your daily schedule. The sixth house is also about schedules and habits in terms of health and things related to health. So for Librans, there can be a real integration here in terms of having realizations in how your daily relationships with people close to you influence your health. You might have realizations about how your daily schedule is impacting your close relationships, and finding new ways to integrate and better ways to move forward after you have these realizations in terms of your health, your daily schedules, and your relationships, and finding a new balance in working with these going forward. So for Scorpio rising, the Venus and Mars retrograde is starting for you in your sixth house, and they are retrograding back to the fifth house. So the sixth house is that place of daily schedules. It is about work. It is about what time you get up, what time you exercise, how you choose to spend your day and your schedule. It is about your schedule in terms of your health habits, when you go for a walk, when you go to the gym. And the fifth house is that place of joy. The fifth house is about our hobbies. It is about the things that we do for our creativity. It is about art and self-expression. It is about romance. So for Scorpios, there is some integration here between that grind of daily schedules. There's only so many hours in a day. How do I schedule my day for the best? And then integrating this more with what really brings me joy. You're going to find new ways of working with your schedules and your daily habits to maybe incorporate more joy. Or you're going to get very clear about the things that you are doing in your daily schedule that are not bringing you any joy, and maybe start contemplating how you can change these things to integrate more joy and creativity and expression and romance and artfulness into your daily schedules and habits and work life. So for Sagittarius rising, this Venus and Mercury retrograde is starting for you in the fifth house and retrograding back to the fourth house. So for Sagittarius, fifth house is called the house of joy. It is a place of hobbies, of what we do that makes us feel alive and well, the sports we play, the arts we do, those things that we do, how we spend our leisure time. The fifth house is a place of romance, artfulness, creativity. The fifth house is also about children. So if you have children, keep that in mind with this. The fourth house is about your home, your physical home, your family, your ancestors, and even your family genetics. So for Sagittarians, there is an integration here between either how you relate to your children and where you find joy with that, and how you integrate that into your home and your family life. If you don't have kids, this can be about finding those things that bring you joy and maybe integrating more of those into your home life. You might find that you suddenly have an inspiration to start painting again, and you converting a room into your house into a studio, or a room in your house into a gym. some change here in terms of how you find joy and how you integrate that into your home life. And then for Capricorn rising, Venus and Mercury retrograde is starting for you in the 4th house and retrograding back to the 3rd house. The 4th house is your home. It's your physical home. It's your inner home. It is that intimate place that you connect to behind closed doors. It is that place where you spend your evening time as opposed to where you see yourself in public life. And the 3rd house is all about your mind, your thought patterns, your communication. It is about learning, and it is about your inner and outer environments. And so for Capricorn, there is an integration here between a home life and thought and communication patterns. You might find new ways of communicating with family and really bringing more depth and understanding into family communications, understanding how your mind works and maybe where certain thought patterns and belief systems could have been holding you back in the past. And now you are bringing new ways of being and thinking and communicating into your family life and bringing changes into that home environment in such a way. For Aquarius rising, Venus and Mercury retrograde starts for you in your 3rd house and retrogrades back into the 2nd house. So for Aquarius, this 3rd house is all about your inner and outer environment. Inner environment in terms of your landscapes of your thoughts, beliefs and communication. Outer environment in terms of your neighborhood, your neighbors, close proximity to your house. It is about short-term learning as well. You might integrate new learning things into your world, maybe start some short courses, expand your mind, learn new belief systems. And the 2nd house is about your resources. 2nd house is also about inner and outer resources. So 2nd house can be about money and physical resources. And 2nd house can also be about your inner resources and those skills that you bring to your daily life. So there's an integration here for Aquarians about beliefs, learning new things, expanding the mind, expanding your communication. And this might bring a change in your skill set, and even how you make money on a daily basis. You can also find that maybe there is a change in your resources in the 2nd house, and this makes you integrate new ways and beliefs and thinking and communication in terms of the 3rd house to work better with your resources, to maybe have better belief systems about your resources and how you work with your resources. And then for Pisces rising, the Venus and Mercury retrograde starts for you in your 2nd house and retrogrades back to the 1st house. So for Pisces, 2nd house is about your resources, inner and outer resources, physical and non-physical resources. So it can be money, it can be the money you make from rent, it can be your salary that you get from your work. It is those skills that you intrinsically have inside you of how you make your money and how you receive resources from the world. And the 1st house, Pisces, is all about you. It is your personality, it is your body, it is who you are in the world. So there's an integration here for Pisces about how you use your resources in terms of your body, your personality, your health. Maybe how you dress can change, how you present yourself to the world can change in a very personal way. Or you can have changes in how you see yourself. Maybe your self-image changes with a retrograde back into the first house. You have new realizations with Venus retrograde in the first house of how you now want to dress and be in the world, or how you are sharing your love with others. And this can bring a change back into the second house of your skills and resources, where you can really feel expanded to now bring this new self-image that you've gained with Venus and Mercury retrograde in the first house into the second house, and therefore being more confident in how you make your money and your resources in the world. So everyone, thank you so much for being here. If this was helpful to you, please do share with others. Please leave your comments. I love to know how these archetypal energies relate to each one astrologically during this time. I am offering personal readings. If you would like a reading, please do get in touch. My website link will be below. And thank you so much. I will see you again next time.